If you let go and let God do it the way He wants it to be done, you'll be what you never dreamed of. Proverbs 3 verse 6 says, "In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths." Let God always take the lead in all things. Acknowledge Him as your help. Put your faith in Him and He would always walk you through the right path. Knowing that God is your help makes you break free from the burden of getting to where you want to be by yourself. A whole lot of people struggle without giving the lordship of their lives to who should hold it. God is the author and the finisher of our faith, and whatever He begins, He brings to an end. All you need to do is to keep following Him and put your eyes on Him, who can take you to what is best for you. Every journey that God makes with anyone, He completes by Himself. Psalm 23 verse 1 calls Him our shepherd. A shepherd directs, leads, guides, and escorts the flock. The beautiful part about having a shepherd is that finding the place to feed has nothing to do with the flock, because the shepherd takes full responsibility for the flock, and that's the same way God is fully responsible for you as the good shepherd that He is. All you have to do as a sheep is to follow your shepherd as he leads you through. A sheep doesn't know what is in the mind of the shepherd or where he's asking it, but just follows expecting the end to meet up where it can feed on. Any sheep who loses sight of his shepherd or goes astray is liable to all forms of attack. This is the plight of those who don't follow the leading of the master and try to find their means to get into positions. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. There have been a lot of examples of people who ended up in places or positions they never felt they would have ever had the opportunity to be in. A good example of a person who God raised high is Joseph, a Hebrew boy who went through a lot before later ending up as the Prime Minister of Egypt. Even after all the hardship, God put him in a position where he could now sit and dine with kings. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 27 says, "And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the mighty things." God picks those who are termed weak and seen as nothing. He raises them high and makes them sit with kings to show His glory and to rubbish those who think they're high and mighty. All those who feel they don't need Him and have control of their world in their hands fall into the category of those who God ends up raising. Those who put their full trust in Him higher than they are or they could ever be. The best way to not let God have His way in your life is to take total control of your life, and that is seeing as pride before God. Labor to be where you want to be, but do it from the mindset that you know that the result will not necessarily come from what you do or don't do, but from Him who works on your behalf to make all things beautiful for you in His own time. No matter how horrible things might look now, God is capable of bringing you out of the shame. Do not lose hope. Have a confident expectation of good. He takes men out of the dirt and cleans them up, makes their path straight, and sets them in strong positions. Those who have a testimony of God putting them in places they never imagined are people who rest in the promises of God for them to give them a great future. And a very noticeable trend with them is that before they go to that great and unimaginable place God later brings them into, they had to endure a lot of hardship, because the journey to greatness is not always the way a man plans it to be. A lot of cases of people starting small and going through a lot before finally breaking forth into levels both and no one thought they would ever be in. So when you see yourself going in that same direction, what to expect in greatness, because the nature of God is to lift men and take them places they never imagined. At times, right before you reach that great breakthrough, there's a great fall, just like Joseph had to go to prison. Any man who saw him in that position at the time he was in prison would have felt that this was the end for him, not knowing it was just a stepping stone to the huge breakthrough God planned for him ahead. But the only way he could get there was by him getting to the prison first, and from there getting the opportunity to meet with a king. God's ways are always different from that of a man, and then it just all results in what you didn't expect, plan, or imagine. But that's not the time to be angry, tired, or feel like God has forgotten you. It's just the way God is. God could just tell you to go somewhere a lot worse than where you were, or at times He even puts you there by Himself. People take God's leading with mediocrity and ignore it just because it isn't fitting into their ambitions and the life they pictured for themselves. They do this forgetting that man can only try, but God has the final say. Then they run away from God's destined place for them because God instructs them to go somewhere that looks unpleasant, which would lead them to their breaking point, but they feel it's not up to the standard of what they had in mind before. Some even give up on themselves, take their focus away from God, and start carrying the burden of trying to make things work on their own. People take God's leading with mediocrity and ignore it. So much beauty might just be in that place, and your answer to God's leading by staying there would just shoot you high. Just imagine if Joseph never went to prison. He might have been in Potiphar's house forever, but his going to the prison brought him to the place no one ever thought he could end up in. Psalm 27 verse 6 says, "And now my head will be lifted above my enemies around me, and I will offer in His tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord." Those who mocked Joseph later came back to bow down to him. God raised you high above all your enemies. Man is short-sighted when it comes to the future, but why worry when there is one who sees all and knows the end from the beginning? We don't see what He sees. We see little, but He sees the full picture. We can only predict, but He doesn't predict. He knows what's ahead, and He knows the best and most, especially He knows how to get to that perfect place. All those who have looked down on you or thought nothing good could ever come out of you end up under your feet. At the end of it all, it's always rejoicing. Everyone whom God is on his side always laughs last. It has happened in the past, so it will happen again, because God is not a respecter of persons, and yours is not going to be different. He's not going to start failing with you, because He never does. His agenda and His heart's wish are to see you all happy at the end, and that's what He's been working toward right from the start. If God wants to make something happen, it doesn't have any other choice than to work out the way He wants it. So if it's God's plan for you to laugh at last, you can rest assured that you surely will.